Most people stay stuck because they skip one simple step. A habit that, if done well, will change the trajectory of all of your growth in your business, in your personal life, as a leader, and as an individual. If you don't know me, I'm Schuyler Williamson. I'm a two-time war veteran. I play professional baseball, and now I lead 4 companies. And there's one practice that I've used that's helped me grow faster and lead better across all areas of my life, whether it was in the combat zone, in the boardroom, or at home with my personal family. I'll explain it to you, but to do that, let me tell you a story back from when my days in combat. We were in Baghdad, Iraq, and my sister platoon just came under contact. And they did a good job of suppressing the enemy and forcing them into one building, and the enemy holed up there. And they didn't have enough soldiers to not only secure the building, but also send troops in. And so they called for support for us. And when another friendly unit needs support in the US Army, we go and support. And so I moved to that other unit and we crosstalked. And my mission was going to be to secure the building while he took his troops into the building to clear it and eliminate the enemy. Now, both of those missions are important. And you would think that he had the more dangerous of the two because we knew enemy were in that building. But I can tell you from a firsthand experience that it's really dangerous being in the perimeter, sitting still for hours. And that's what my guys were doing. So we circled the building, covering all the streets that led into that building. And the things that we look for are not only the dismounted enemy attacks or RPG fire from rooftops or windows or sniper attacks from windows, but the vehicle-borne IED, and specifically the suicide vehicle-borne IED, where an enemy combatant would drive a vehicle into our perimeter and detonate themselves with a car full of bombs. All of my soldiers knew that tactic. It happened frequently in Baghdad, and it was a common theme for Al-Qaeda to use that not only as a terror tactic, but also to injure or kill our soldiers. Now, my guys were set up, and we were well into the mission, probably an hour deep into it, and a car turned the corner and positioned itself looking at us. Now, my guys did a great job. We had horns, we had lasers and lights, we honked our horns. We did all kind of things to stop this person, and they actually stopped. But then they creeped up a little bit more. And my guys, not knowing what was happening with that vehicle, not knowing whether it was an enemy combatant or just a standard person, not knowing what to do, shot a few rounds that was just a warning fire. And that was a common practice in Baghdad for us, is to shoot warning fire to just make sure that they knew that we were very serious, that they could not progress anymore. Now, we had spike strips and cones and all this other stuff that you would think normally would tell someone that they can't come any closer to us. This person, for some reason, even after we shot our warning fire, continued to move forward, and my soldiers made the decision to fire on this person, and they were effective. Now, eventually that person was able to open the door and they fell out. Now, there was no one else in the car, and we could tell that. And this person was laying on the ground, and they didn't have a weapon on them. And so we gave the order for our medic to go treat this person. It looked like there was no threat. And so we wanted to make sure that we could treat this person if we could save their life. And when we got up there, we noticed that there was nothing in the car. We cleared the vehicle. There was no bombs in it. And we started triaging this person. And we were able to save his life, and we got him back. Now, after the mission, when we had all come back to the camp and were recovering from that operation, I could tell that there was just a huge mental drain on my guys. There was lots of stress based on the outcome of that situation that we were in. And I could tell that we really needed to go over this, that my guys didn't have clarity about what they just went through, and that they felt guilt and remorse from the actions that they took. And even though I knew that they had done the right thing, and even though I just told them, it still wasn't resonating with them. And as a team, we were hurt mentally in that situation. The one part of the mission that we hadn't accomplished just yet was our after action review. Now, in business, they call them postmortems. And for us, an after action review is the last part of the mission. It's where we go over the mission to make sure that we understand what we did well, what we didn't do well, and what we're going to do next time to make sure that we continue to grow mission to mission. And I knew that going through that after action review would really help my guys mentally. And so we set it up, and I asked them the same thing that we always start our AARs with. What did you plan to happen? What did we expect? We had a soldier explain exactly what it was that we expected when we set up our security perimeter. After he was done explaining what we expected to happen and what our plan was, I asked somebody to explain what actually happened. And so they went through exactly what happened. They went through all of the measures that we took and what the results were. And I said, okay, well, what did we learn from that? And the soldiers gave their takeaways, and I asked them, what are we going to do next time? And we had takeaways from that too. Now, when we went through that after action review, the soldiers got clarity around the situation and they got reassurance that they did the right things. And all of that guilt and all of that remorse that they had, they were able to let it go because they knew that they had performed exactly the way that we had trained. But we didn't just say, "Oh, that was good enough." The after action review actually gave us ways that we could go and do it better the next time, that maybe we could prevent the situation from happening again. And that's the key, to always equip your team to grow. We wanna keep growing even when you succeed. There are things that you'll take away that if you just started with those successful tactics from the very beginning, that you might succeed in an even bigger way. And look, you don't have to be in a wartime environment to go do an after action review. You should be doing after action reviews after every significant operation that you do in your business. Now, let me tell you a story about how we leveraged an after action review with our laundry business. We had our first discovery day. And a discovery day, in case you don't know what that is when you sell a franchise after the application is accepted, you want those prospects to come visit and see how you run your business. And it's kind of like dating. We get to see who you are in person, they get to see who we are in person. And it's the ultimate sales experience on whether or not that person is qualified to be a part of your team as a franchisee. And then for them to make the decision, do I actually want to buy this franchise? And so we spent a day doing that, and we had our very first one a few months ago. Now, it went off really well. I mean, if you were just a bystander and you watched us go through this, you would have said, man, for our first discovery day, you guys executed really well. And look, we had a vision for that discovery day. We had a plan. We had people with responsibilities. We had expectations that were clear. And then we have a high standard on our team. So there's no doubt we were going to execute well, but there's always something that you can learn. And so when I was driving home from Abilene after that discovery day, I had an after action review of myself, and there's lots of great opportunities and tools out there that you can use even when you're driving to make this executable for yourself. And so what I did was I just pulled up my phone and used the voice. I activated the voice part of GPT and I just told it, hey, look, I want to have an after action review conversation with you. I will lead it, but I need you to ask me clarifying questions so that we can summarize this in a one-page document that I can share with my team so that we can get better the next time. And so I worked this conversation for 20 minutes with ChatGPT saying, this is what our plan was. This is what actually happened. These are the ways that I think we can improve. These are the ways that I think we should continue and sustain. And this is what I expect us to do the next time we run a discovery day. And it was a great process of not only documenting things that we should do the next time as a team, but just the sheer fact of me exploring the idea of like, how could we make this better? Just prompting myself to acknowledge how things were different from the plan, how I can improve that process of growth over time. Now, I wasn't beating myself after the event because we weren't perfect. No, we weren't perfect, but I can get better, and that's what I'm after. I'm after the progress, and that's what the after action review brings you. And so I had this conversation with myself, I documented it, and then I shared it with the team. And not only did I share it with the team, but I told people who was responsible for what parts that we were going to do the next time, and we will be better for it. Yeah, so here's your takeaway and here's your challenge. After every event in your business, whether it be an annual review meeting that you have with somebody, or it's a discovery day, or it's a sales call, or anything that you do that's substantial for who you are in your business, do an after action review. Get your paper out and write down what your plan was. Write down what actually happened, and then ask yourself, what are the 3 things that we can improve on so that the next time I do this, I will do it better. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel to get more like it, and go down in the show notes and sign up for my newsletter, and we'll send you tips weekly on how to become a steady leader.